Have you ever ended one simple conversation feeling strangely exhausted, even though nothing dramatic seemed to happen at all today? Your body relaxes around most people, yet around one person, your thoughts suddenly become heavier without any obvious explanation whatsoever. That feeling is not weakness, oversensitivity, or imagination, because your brain constantly monitors emotional safety before your conscious mind realizes anything. Stay with me, because one overlooked pattern explains why certain conversations quietly steal your peace while appearing completely ordinary outside. Most emotionally draining people never announce harmful intentions through shouting, insults, or obvious conflict that anyone could immediately recognize publicly. Instead, they slowly influence your emotions using subtle psychological habits that gradually reshape your confidence, clarity, and emotional balance over time. The frightening part is, your brain usually notices these hidden patterns long before your logical thinking finally catches up completely later. Today, you will discover 7 powerful warning signs, and after understanding them, you will never experience familiar conversations exactly the same. Why guilt drains your brain first. One of the earliest signs your brain detects involves unexpected guilt appearing after conversations that seemed completely harmless on the surface initially. Healthy relationships encourage responsibility without making you feel responsible for another person's emotional stability, happiness, or unresolved personal struggles constantly. Someone quietly seeking control often leaves small emotional burdens behind, hoping your caring nature automatically carries everything they refuse confronting themselves. Recognizing this pattern early protects your emotional energy, and that awareness begins the quiet transformation behind quiet growth, lasting genuine confidence every day. When every conversation becomes about them, have you noticed how your stories suddenly disappear, while every discussion somehow circles back toward their endless problems and personal struggles? You begin speaking with excitement, yet minutes later, you become an audience listening, while your own emotions quietly fade into silence completely. Your brain recognizes this imbalance, because healthy conversations naturally exchange attention instead of constantly collecting it from only one person. Here is where it gets interesting, because people craving constant emotional spotlight often fear feeling invisible more than being genuinely connected. Confusion is their hidden advantage. Another powerful warning sign appears when simple conversations leave you mentally foggy instead of emotionally understood or peacefully resolved afterward together. You raise one respectful concern, yet somehow the discussion shifts until you question your memory, intentions, and perfectly reasonable emotional reactions instead. This confusion is exhausting, because your brain spends enormous energy searching for clarity, while manipulation deliberately keeps certainty just beyond your reach. The scary part is, confusion weakens confidence, and uncertain people become easier to influence without recognizing what actually happened during conversations. When you start walking on emotional eggshells. Perhaps the deepest drain begins when you carefully edit every sentence before speaking, because you fear triggering another unpredictable emotional reaction completely. Instead of expressing honest thoughts freely, you rehearse conversations repeatedly, hoping to avoid disappointment, anger, silence, or unexpected blame from them afterward. Your nervous system slowly learns that protecting another person's emotions matters more than protecting your own psychological well-being, creating unhealthy survival patterns daily. But something strange happens next, because the moment you stop managing their feelings, your brain finally remembers what genuine emotional freedom feels like again. Small comments that quietly shrink your confidence. Not every hurtful remark sounds cruel, because emotional manipulation often hides behind jokes, advice, or concern delivered with a comfortable smile instead. You celebrate progress proudly, yet someone immediately adds one subtle comment that quietly replaces excitement with self-doubt before you even notice internally. Your brain remembers these tiny emotional cuts because repeated negativity slowly changes how confidently you see your own future and personal potential. The moment you calmly ask, "What did you mean by that?" Hidden intentions often become impossible for uncomfortable silence to protect anymore, when their burden becomes your responsibility. Another overlooked warning appears when every conversation somehow leaves you carrying emotional weight that never truly belonged to your life originally. Supporting someone occasionally builds trust, but constantly absorbing another person's unresolved struggles slowly overwhelms your emotional capacity and inner resilience completely. Healthy relationships share responsibility, while unhealthy ones quietly transfer pressure until exhaustion feels normal and personal peace becomes increasingly unfamiliar every week. Your brain cannot endlessly store someone else's emotional baggage without eventually signaling fatigue, tension, and withdrawal for necessary psychological protection from overload. The biggest sign your brain already knows. The strongest warning arrives when you no longer recognize yourself around one specific person, despite feeling relaxed almost everywhere else every day. Your laughter becomes quieter, your opinions become smaller, and your natural personality slowly disappears beneath constant emotional self-protection, without realizing why immediately. Pause before your next interaction and honestly ask, who do I become around this person? Because that answer reveals more than words. Once you notice this pattern, you cannot unsee it, and your future decisions become guided by awareness instead of emotional habit anymore. Protecting your peace starts today. Your exhaustion was never meaningless because your brain continually collects emotional evidence, even while your conscious mind keeps searching for logical explanations first. Every repeated feeling of guilt, confusion, pressure, or emotional heaviness deserves careful attention instead of automatic dismissal or unnecessary self-blame during relationships always. Choose one warning sign from today's video, observe it carefully this week, and notice how differently your conversations suddenly begin feeling afterward naturally. When you protect your peace consistently, your confidence quietly returns, your relationships become healthier, and your authentic self finally has room to thrive again.